Hey traders, John Fortune here with this week's Weekly Forex Forecast for the 11th of November to the 15th of November 2019. As always, we're going to start off by looking at the US dollar index and crude oil before running through a number of markets, looking at the key levels of support and resistance in the process. I'm also going to be highlighting some of the targets that we're going to be looking for in this coming week and also for the week ahead. So, hope you're all having a great weekend. Let's jump over to the charts and see where the money is this week. As always, we're going to start off by looking at the US dollar index. Now, last week we had this reversal week back to the upside in the dollar index. We started to trade and we broke above a key area of broken resistance from the past. So what we're looking for this week, if we can get a pullback and if we can get a retest of broken resistance turning support, this is going to be an area in the dollar index to start to look for further advances to the upside. And we're going to be looking up towards the next key of resistance, the upside and the target set at the 98.64. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking up towards the next key of resistance, the upside and target 2, the 99.37. So based on this break to the upside in the dollar index, we do go into this week with a bullish bias on the US dollar as we're expecting it to have strength this week. So the next market that we're going to look at is crude oil. Now, we were looking further advances to the upside in crude oil, and we did start to move to the upside in this market last week. Going into this week, we're still looking at the target, the next key of resistance to the upside at the 59.31. So very simply put, if we can get a pullback, for anybody not involved in this in the previous week's videos, if we can get a pullback, and as always, if we can get a retest of broken resistance from the past, a turning support, this would be the best place to start to look for those bullish formations and patterns in this market. And we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key of resistance to the upside and the target set at the 59.31. So the next market that we're going to look at is euro dollar. Now, we start the week below a key area of broken support from the past, looking to turn resistance this week at the 1.10740. We're making our way down towards the next key of support already, which is the next target. So what we'd like to see in order to get a good risk to reward setup next week, if we can get a pullback, and as always, preferably if we can come back and retest broken support, turning resistance, this would be a great place next week to start to look for those bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key of support to the downside and the target set at the 1.1000. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key of support to the downside and target 2 at the 1.0926. So the next market that we're going to look at is pound dollar. Now, we start the week below a key area of broken support from the past, looking to turn resistance at the 1.29080. We are focused on further declines and looking for bearish setups in this market this week with the US dollar index breaking to the upside. So very simply put, if we can get a pullback, especially to give us good risk to reward on any trade that we look at, if we can get a pullback, and as always, preferably if we can come back and retest broken support, turning resistance at the 1.29080. This is going to be a great place going into next week to start to look for those bearish setups. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key of support to the downside and the target set at the 1.2707. And if we can break through this level, if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key of support to the downside and target 2 at the 1.2414. So the next market that we're going to look at is US dollar Japanese yen. Now, we did in the end come up and take out the target set from last week at 109.31. And with the US dollar breaking to the upside, we are looking for further advances to the upside in this market this week. If we can get a pullback anywhere in this area, but as always, preferably if we can come back and retest broken resistance turning support at the 108.350, this is going to be a fantastic place to start to look for those bullish setups. And we're going to be looking at initiating longs in this market up towards the next key of resistance, the upside and the target set at the 110.80. So the next market that we're going to look at is Aussie dollar. Now, we actually start the week above a key area of broken resistance from the past, looking to turn support at 0.68340. So the Aussie dollar is still structured to the upside. What this means is going into next week, even though we have a strong US dollar, we also have a strong Australian dollar. So we are still looking for moves to the upside. We can utilize this in one of two ways. Either we can just leave this altogether if we want to focus on our US dollar long positions. So US dollar long, okay, US dollar index to the upside would be Aussie US dollar to the downside. Okay, Aussie down, US dollar up. Now, that is not the way this market is structured. So we can use this in two ways. Either we can focus on our US dollar strong positions next week in the dollar pairs, and we can filter this out and we can just leave the Aussie dollar altogether, expecting perhaps a correction. Or we can utilize this as a plan B currency. What that means is if we fail to get this strength in the US dollar next week, the Aussie dollar to the upside is the market we can come and look to capitalize on that reversal or a failure of dollar strength next week. So very simply put, if we can get a pullback down towards a 0.68340, this is going to be a good place next week to start to look for those bullish formations and patterns. If, as a plan B, if the dollar fails to carry out the strength that we're looking at this week and instead starts to decline, this will be the market to come to. And we're going to be looking, if that happens, at initiating longs in this market up towards the 0.6996. So the next market that we're going to look at this week is New Zealand dollar. Just a reminder before we do this pair that we do have an interest rate decision coming out of New Zealand next week in the early hours of Wednesday morning UK time, so it's about 1 a.m. UK time. And that's next week, so we should be seeing some volatility around Wednesday morning in the New Zealand pairs. So just keep a note of that if you are trading the New Zealand pairs, and also if you're trading the New Zealand dollar next week. But very simply put, what we're going to be looking for in this market next week is if we can get a pullback, and any pullback in this area, preferably as always, if we can come back and retest broken support, turning resistance at the 0.6406. This would give us this head and shoulders pattern. We would like to see in this area if we can start to look for those bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area support to the downside and the target set at a 0.6255. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area support to the downside and target 2 at 0.6204. So the next market we're going to look at is US dollar Swiss franc. If we can get a pullback in the US dollar Swiss franc towards this key area of broken resistance from the past, looking to turn support at 0.99050, this is going to be a great place going into next week to start to look for those bullish setups. And if we get the right kind of bullish setups in this market, we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key area of resistance, the upside and the target set at the 1.0027. The next market that we're going to look at is US dollar CAD. Now we start the week above a key area of broken resistance from the past, looking to turn support this week at the 1.31780. If we can get a pullback, and as always, if we can come back and retest broken resistance, turning support at the 1.31780, this is going to be a great place next week to start to look for those bullish setups. And we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside and the target set at the 1.3347. And last but not least, we have gold. Now, we start the week below a key area of broken support from the past at the 1498.40, looking to turn resistance. We're coming very close to the next key area of support and the target to the downside. So in order to get that risk to reward, what we would like to see is if we can get a pullback towards the 1498.40, and as always, preferably if we can come all the way back and retest broken support, turning resistance, this is going to be a great opportunity next week to start to look for those bearish formations and patterns in this market. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key of support to the downside and the target set at the 1449.30. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key of support to the downside and target 2 at the 1433.80. So that is it from me for this week, guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please let me know by liking, sharing and subscribing. A big thank you to all of you who do that on a regular basis, and a big thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel so far, and also those of you who comment on these videos as well. Just keep an eye out for the interest rate decision next Wednesday out of New Zealand if you're trading the New Zealand pairs. And apart from that, guys, the only thing left for me to say is have a great weekend, take care, and don't forget to trade safely.